Hi guys, I know you can't see it, but my record shelf, which is actually this red one over here, and my vinyl records used to be in that bottom section. It's completely empty. Does that mean that I sold all my records? No, it doesn't actually mean that, don't worry. It means that I built a new record shelf, so I'm sort of changing all of my stuff over there behind the camera, and this just might be the last video that you see me doing from this angle. I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to try out whether like that works better, that setup, or this one. But I think I do want to have my records in my background, so I might actually end up switching this setup. So we'll see, but this might be the last video from this angle. But let's get to the point of this video, which is old music, new music. Why do I just listen to old music? Why don't I like new music? And that's an interesting topic. Probably most of this video is just gonna be me theorizing this subject because I don't have a clear answer. I was born in 1993 and I grew up with music like Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, early Shakira, Christina Aguilera, all those like pop groups that were very popular in the like late 90s, early 2000s. Smurfs music were a really big thing, and then we had this, the Swedish dance pop groups. I don't even want to mention them, but if you know them, you know them anyway. I think they were pretty big all over. Bonfunk MCs was a Finnish group that I really liked. It was really big in Europe. Freestyler is their biggest hit. But the thing is, I was never a big music listener or a music fan when I was a kid. I think I probably was like 15 years old when I started to really dig music in a deeper level. When I was a kid, I really loved soundtrack music, so like movie scores by John Williams, Ennio Morricone, and that sort of stuff. That was Star Wars music, those classics. And that was sort of the stuff that I felt was closest to my heart when I was like a kid. Jurassic Park music, those classic scores. And I just never really felt that deeply about popular music in general. And something started to change when I was, I don't know, about 15 years old, like I mentioned. And I started to find these artists like Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I really loved their music. And that wasn't something that my parents were listening to. My parents never, like, especially my dad, he was never like a big music, and never has been a big music listener. My mom is more into music, but she is born in the 60s, so she grew up with the 70s and mostly 80s music, so she has always been playing stuff like Bon Jovi. And then in the like early 2000s, she started to listen to a lot of Johnny Cash and Leonard Cohen and that sort of stuff. And that's when I sort of found those artists. And David Bowie, she's always liked David Bowie, and Prince. So I kind of learned to appreciate some of those artists that I still listen to this day and collect from her. But the style of music that I like the most, and especially like Beach Boys and the 60s stuff, and even some older stuff, I found by myself, so I wasn't influenced really by anybody. And that most certainly was not the kind of music that I listened to when I was a kid, because I believe most of people really kind of just stick with the stuff that they hear when they were kids because they feel nostalgia when they listen to that stuff. But for me, if I wanted to hear nostalgia, I should listen to, like I mentioned, like Backstreet Boys or something. I remember when Californication came, and I really liked that. And for the longest of time, I listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers quite a lot, but not in many years. I don't even have a single album by them, so I can't even say that. Like even the 90s rock groups like Nirvana. I remember Nirvana. It was all over the place in the late 90s, but I just never really got into it. the music just doesn't really do anything for me. I'm not saying that it's bad music or Red Hot Chili Peppers. I like them, I appreciate them, but it's just it never was my cup of tea. So the music that I heard in TV and in radio and what my sister played in the 90s and 2000s, it just wasn't really doing much for me. And it just took some time for me to find the sort of stuff that I really enjoy. And for some odd reason, it mostly turned out to be music from the 60s and 70s. There is a lot of artists and albums from the 80s too that I love, and you know, some stuff from the 90s too, but mostly when we come to the 90s and 2000s stuff, the artists or the albums that I like the most are by artists that started either in the 60s or 70s already, so they are like legacy artists, which is interesting to me. The sort of the more modern sound that started to come around in the 90s, that more sort of sterile computer styled sound when it comes to the production, which has just gone crazy in the, I don't know, past 10 years or so. Super sterile and clean. It just never did much for me. And I know a lot of people will probably comment to this one if they see this video, I don't know, that there is a lot of new artists that sound great and you just have to dig deep enough. Well, the thing is, I feel that every album and each song that you ever hear is new to you if you hear it the first time. So I don't really care if the music was written in the 1800s or 60s or 70s, or if it was written last year and whatever, you know. When you hear that song the first time, it is new to you, so it is new. So I never was into fads or that sort of stuff, so I don't really know why I should care about the music done today more so than I care about the music of 50s by artists that have passed away. Like, because all of that is new to me. And the thing is, I was just thinking about this. It's funny because I'm not saying that all that... My point over here is not that all the old stuff is better than the new stuff, because it most certainly is not. The thing is, when we live this year, 2024, we can handpick the cream of the crop from the old stuff, so we don't have to skim through all the crap that was released in the 50s or 60s. I realized that. That stuff did not stand the test of time, and those songs are not in the classic rock playlists. Those songs are not, you cannot find that stuff in anybody's like record collection, really. You can find some of that stuff from the, at least here in Finland, if you go to like a thrift store, like a flea market or something, you can find that stuff. People try to sell that stuff in the record bins over there, and it's horrible. I would never buy that stuff. Even just the covers say that it's just not good. It's not good. We call those Finn hits. But anyway, so there was a lot of crap back in those old days as well. I'm not saying that. But the thing is, there's so much music in the world, and sometimes I hear a new song that I like. For example, in the Barbie movie, there was this Dua Lipa song, I Can't Dance the Night Away or something, I'm not sure what the title was, which I thought was pretty good. I actually played that a few times in my car when I was driving, and I really dug that. Then I kind of forgot that song, and it was a few days ago I heard that in a supermarket or mall or whatever, restaurant, I can't now remember, but it was in some public place. Anyway, I heard that song, and I kind of cringed. Not that I thought that it was bad, I still thought it was alright, but to me, the thing with even those better new songs is that I almost get a lot of times this sort of bad feeling in my stomach, like I'm kind of dishonest to myself for liking this. Because if I'm being honest, even that song, it just sounds like a copy of a copy of a copy. Like, I know some people will go and say, well, there was this very innovative drum beat or drum sound in that song, that new song by this and that. Well, I don't really care, you know. If the song itself sounds like a copy of a copy of a copy of a, I don't know, like a 50s or 70s track, why can't I just go and listen to the original? And I know music doesn't actually exist in a vacuum. That's also one thing. The 50s music and the 60s music didn't come out of a vacuum. There was also music that came before that. Music that wasn't necessarily even recorded ever. So I'm not saying that, but still, there's just something about that rawness of the performances and the recordings and the production style of the older stuff that really pleases my ear. And it feels so honest and truthful when I play something like I love Robert Johnson recordings from, I don't know, 100 years ago almost, or something like that. I love those recordings. I mean, they sound like crap, but there's just something really, really special going on in those recordings. And if I listen to mainstream radio, mainstream playlists, or I walk in a mall, or I go into a club or a restaurant and I hear over there the stuff that people listen to these days, or I hop into a car and somebody, drives me somewhere, I don't know, some casual friend or something, and I hear what they are listening to in their car. In my mind, I'm going crazy. I'm like, what the heck? Are you seriously thinking this is good stuff? To me, I know there probably is some Robert Johnson of 2024 somewhere doing music, but how the heck am I supposed to find him? Seriously, how am I supposed to find him? It's impossible. So that's really an issue for me. And then also the fact that when it comes to the mainstream music, and I've been kind of studying Brian Wilson's songwriting, and even, Beatles, Prince, David Bowie, these classical rock artists. When you know Brian Wilson's songs through and through, it's kind of really hard to appreciate anymore these sort of kindergarten melodies that you hear in today's popular music, mostly. And the production that is kind of very lackluster and uninspired. And you listen to something by David Bowie, no matter really what record by him, and you compare that to anything else in the world, and it's like night and day, really. So it's like the musicianship, production, songwriting. For me, the composition is really everything. If the composition doesn't work, I don't really care. But then there are like some exceptions too, which is weird. I have been thinking about this and why that is. I don't really have an answer, but I think it, like for example, Robert Johnson or ZZ Top, blues rock, which are pretty simple tunes when it comes to the composition or the chordings themselves. But I think it's just that rawness of that performance, that pure, honest emotion that is delivered by the performer, by his musicianship or his singing. Or they're singing, whether it's a man or a woman. So I think that also obviously has a big factor in it. And then I don't even want to go really like into rap music, but I really like the early rap, like the 80s rap music, the OG rap and stuff like that, when it was more melodic and the backing tracks were actually very well played. Like they were actually real instruments and they were very groovy. So I really dig that stuff. And there are some like more modern rap musicians too that I like. But to me it's kind of sad to see how big of a sort of, I don't know, like a spotlight hip hop and rap music has taken. And it has left the music that is more instrument based and musicianship based and melodic music in the background, and I kind of feel sorry about that. So I'm not saying that rap music shouldn't exist or anything like that. I actually enjoy a lot of rap music myself too, but it's just mostly, especially the stuff that I hear today, is just not anything that I would like to listen to voluntarily. How should I wrap this up? I have no idea. But I guess I would like to know your thoughts on this subject, because I'm actually pretty clueless why I listen to old music mostly, and I collect old music mostly. There's very rare artists that are like current and putting out stuff that I really really love. Like I said, pretty much all of them that I love and are still doing, I don't know, anything are pretty much like in their 70s or 80s. And there are some exceptions like Au revoir Simone, but even they quit like 10 years ago, but I really loved them. And you know, some other sort of synth pop indie based artists too, but it's very kind of I don't know, I just don't have very many of them. And you know, it's just like when people say that, oh, this new artist is great, it's like, yeah, I'm sure it's great, but and it always bothers me too when people compare new artists to, like, oh, this sounds just like Beach Boys. It's like, I don't really want to hear that, you know? Because I want to hear a new artist sounding like themselves. I don't want to have a new artist that sounds like the Beach Boys. It sounds like something Mary Wilson would have said in the 60s, like of the sun rays or something. Like I don't need that in my life. So I don't know, you know, I guess it's just time to end this video. What do you think about this subject? Let's continue in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you hopefully soon again on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.